So, we talked about favorite projects and why you guys love being in the industry. So now where the industry is heading. So as part of the pandemic, I think we sort of joked around that if you didn't know what semiconductors were before the pandemic, you do now. The world knows now how critical the semiconductor industry is. And so there's a lot of trends, and I'm gonna start with automotive again, just because Sonia, you brought that up. But one of the things that we saw at the recent CES and everything else is how many people are focused on automotive. So, Sonia, from your perspective, I know the display team is doing some really great things, as you mentioned, but talk to us about what you're excited to see from a technology standpoint in the semiconductor area for automotive.
Yeah, actually, after pandemic, a lot of things you wanted contactless, less people, less contact, keep the public to be safe. So for automotive, they started doing the self-drive for a long time, not only for your own car, but also for public transportation. And information has become very important to get the real-time information, interact with the users. They're very important. So that's how, display team working with the other team to bring the total solution together. So this way, it's not really 100% semiconductor, but there's an interface to show the AP function, software function, and also how the memory run all the real data at the same time from the data center, from the cloud. So that's very important for display to be part of that, for human being to be interact with the technology. So I think that's the trend. Information is very important to be transparent for user and in real time to make sure everything
Yep.
is safe and then in the real time communication, those kind of things.
Yep. Well, in real time is critical, which leads us to memory and memory's use within the automotive market and the technology. It's all about latency. I mean, if you're reading things short in not in real time, that could cause a lot of issues, especially with autonomous driving, et cetera. So, Sarah, from your perspective, where do you see the semiconductor industry being able to actually? I know we're not there yet, but how are we looking to address the automotive market?
Well, I think there across all our product portfolio, I think we have things of value for the automotive market, right? Across the memory portfolio, I think both on the DRAM side and the NAND side. I'm actually curious how things will evolve on the cloud side, right? I think what's happening in the vehicle is interesting, and for sure it's growth of storage on the vehicle itself. But I'm curious to see how much of that translates into cloud, right? If there's how much of the data will go from the vehicle into the cloud for analysis, how much will just stay on the vehicle, how much will get thrown away. So I'm curious to see how that's going to be evolving.
Yeah, for sure. Dee, do you have thoughts from an automotive perspective?
Sure. Yeah. So automotive is actually one of the key growth areas for Samsung, and particularly for our local branch. We have set up a task force, a specific automotive task force, to look at this industry and how Samsung as a company can align our roadmaps to future customer needs. And so it's really interesting to see all of the engagements that we have, particularly with companies that are basically startups all the way to automotive, like name brand automotive companies that have been operating as car makers for years and years, for decades, basically. So, what's really interesting to me is like looking at the storage requirements that are going to grow due to autonomous driving, due to mobility as a service. We are seeing, cars basically becoming data centers
Yep.
on wheels,
Yep.
and processing a lot of information locally before offloading it to the cloud. So there's this new ecosystem that's being developed, and so we are, from a storage perspective, we are at the center of that, providing enabling our customers to be able to do what to develop the technologies for autonomous driving in the future.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to sort of see where like the task force and everything else is being developed and where it is a long sales cycle. I came from automotive and I get that it takes a while, but I think where things are going to be 5 years from now, and the semiconductors involvement in that is going to be very interesting. Christina, any additional thoughts from an automotive side?
Yeah, I think the future of automotive is going to be huge, especially when you incorporate autonomous driving. My vision kind of automotive is that in the future, I think it's going to become real that vehicles are going to be automated. You're not going to have to drive behind the wheel. It's going to self-drive. So then people are going to be able to do that connected computing, right? Your phones are connected to the car. You can play video games. You can watch movies. Everything's going to just be able to, you can connect your car to your refrigerator and set the timer to bake or something, whatever. I just, I think this, I'm going to be home in 30 minutes. Okay, bake this. So to what Dee was saying, the car is almost like a data center, and to what Sarah is saying, what's going to happen in on-campus data centers. So I think we're ready and primed to emerge or evolve with autonomous driving and automotive.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see. Celeste, I'm staying with memory here for a little bit. So Celeste, what about you from automotive?
Okay. Well, I have to agree with everything that's already been said, and certainly, I'm actually surprised with automotive, all the sensing camera technologies that are now becoming more and more integrated with memory, and the order of magnitude of memory capacity growth that we're already seeing. It has a momentum of its own, and there's so many features within cars today that require memory, that this is only an area for massive growth, both on the data center side of things, but also in device or in vehicle. It's actually, that's one area that has surprised me by the increase in capacity requirements for flash memory, and that trajectory of growth that will likely be ahead.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, Bridget, we're wrapping up with you on automotive.
Oh my gosh.
Any
Well, I want to talk to you all more and get the workloads from the customer, because I think that, studying the actual like having those workloads and being able to run them through our storage solutions and understand like where we can make improvements and where we, lack features, or there's an opportunity for new feature. I think all of those things are important to explore. For me, we've been doing a lot, data center, cloud, that's our focus. But at the edge is a different, that's going to really come into play. And I think that making sure that we understand what's happening at the edge in the automotive industry is going to be very important to Samsung.